Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Emma couldn't shake off the embarrassment as she returned to her apartment. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in a pillow. What was I thinking? She muttered to herself. The whole night had been a disaster. She had spent an entire hour with a man, assuming he was Kevin, only to find out that she had been talking to a complete stranger. A stranger who, as it turned out, wasn't just anyone. He was a tech millionaire. She was mortified, her stomach still in knots from the ordeal. She sighed and reached for her phone to text Jenny, but before she could type a word, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jenny. That bad, huh? It read. Emma stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, "You have no idea." Jenny responded almost immediately. "I'm guessing you did something embarrassing?" Emma rolled her eyes and typed, "I sat at the wrong table, Jenny. I thought he was Kevin. I spent the whole time talking to him thinking he was someone else." Jenny's reply came quickly. "Oh no. What did he say?" Emma bit her lip as she read the message. She didn't know what to say. What could she say? She had run out of there like a lunatic, face red with shame. She was sure she would never see him again. "I just hope I never see him again," she typed, sending it before she could change her mind. "But what if he was nice?" Jenny teased. Emma rolled her eyes again and dropped the phone on the couch. "He was," she admitted softly, her thoughts drifting back to Liam. There had been something about him, something genuine and kind in his eyes that made her forget her nerves. But she didn't have time to think about that now. She had bills to pay and a future to figure out. She couldn't afford to get distracted by some man. "I need to focus," she told herself out loud. But even as she said it, her mind kept returning to Liam. The next morning, Emma tried to put the awkward encounter behind her. She had to get up early for her shift at the diner, where she worked long hours just to make ends meet. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the only option she had right now. She pulled on her worn-out uniform, tied her shoes, and grabbed her bag. As she walked out the door, she couldn't help but glance at her phone one more time, just in case she had missed a text. But there was nothing. No message from him, no apology, no reminder of the awkward evening they had shared. She tried to convince herself that it was for the best. After all, she didn't need someone like him in her life. At the diner, the usual morning rush started right on time. Emma worked her shift like she always did, taking orders, refilling coffee cups, and making small talk with the regulars. She smiled and nodded, doing her best to focus on her job. But as the hours passed, her thoughts kept drifting back to Liam. The way he looked at her, the way he smiled, the way she had felt so comfortable with him, at least for a while, made it hard to forget him. She wished she could just erase the whole night from her memory, but something told her that it wasn't going to be that easy. By the time her shift ended, Emma was mentally exhausted. She grabbed her bag, slung it over her shoulder, and headed out the door. As she walked down the street toward her apartment, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message from Jenny. It was an email. Emma unlocked her phone and opened it. It was from a name she didn't recognize, Liam Parker. The subject line read, "I think we should talk." Her heart skipped a beat. Liam? Was it really him? She hesitated for a moment before opening the message. As soon as she did, her eyes widened. "Dear Emma, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to apologize for the confusion last night. I didn't get the chance to explain myself properly, and I felt terrible about how everything went down. If you're open to it, I would love the opportunity to get to know you better. Maybe we can meet for coffee sometime, and I can make up for the misunderstanding. Best, Liam Parker." Emma read the message again and again before she could even process what she was feeling. She had been sure that she would never hear from him again. After all, why would he want to reach out after she had practically run out of the restaurant? But here he was, apologizing and asking to meet her again. Her heart raced, and she felt a rush of emotions she hadn't expected. Was this really happening? Was he really interested in getting to know her, despite the awkward start? She stared at the message for a long time, her mind swirling with thoughts. Was she ready for this? Was it a good idea to meet him again? But deep down, she knew she couldn't just ignore it. Maybe this was a sign, a second chance. Maybe there was more to Liam than just being a millionaire. With a deep breath, Emma typed a response. Hi Liam, thank you for your message. I really appreciate the apology, and I think meeting for coffee sounds nice. How about we meet tomorrow afternoon? She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The moment she did, her phone buzzed again. It was a notification for a new email, but this time it wasn't from Liam. It was a reminder, rent due in 3 days. Emma groaned. Life wasn't about to get any easier. But maybe, just maybe, this coffee date with Liam could be the beginning of something new, something unexpected. And perhaps, this time, the mistake wouldn't be so embarrassing after all. The next afternoon, Emma found herself standing outside a cozy cafe in the heart of the city. She checked her phone for the 5th time in 10 minutes, even though she knew she had already confirmed the time. Just be cool, she whispered to herself, taking a deep breath. She wasn't sure what she was expecting from this meeting with Liam, but the nerves were definitely there. After all, how do you face someone you thought was a stranger just a day ago? When she walked inside, the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee hit her immediately, and for a moment, it helped calm her nerves. She spotted Liam right away. He was sitting at a table by the window, his dark hair now neatly styled, wearing a sharp blue suit that looked like it belonged in a fashion magazine. But despite the polished exterior, there was something about him that made Emma feel like she wasn't as out of place as she had been the night before. He stood up when she walked over, smiling warmly. Hi, Emma. It's really good to see you again. Emma smiled, though it felt a little awkward. Hi, Liam. I'm glad we could meet up. Liam gestured for her to sit. Please, have a seat. I'm just glad you agreed to this after everything that happened yesterday. Emma sat down, trying not to feel self-conscious. I was surprised to hear from you after. Well, you know, everything. She laughed nervously, feeling a little better after seeing that he was just as human as she was. Liam chuckled. Yeah, that was definitely not the best first impression. I just wanted to reach out and apologize. I never meant for you to feel embarrassed. Emma looked at him, her curiosity piqued. Why did you want to meet me again? Liam took a deep breath, glancing out the window for a moment before meeting her gaze again. To be honest, Emma, after we talked, I couldn't stop thinking about you. You were different from anyone I've met. There was something real about you. You didn't see me as a millionaire or some CEO. You just saw me as a person. Emma raised an eyebrow, her heart beating faster. You're telling me that you actually liked me, even after I completely embarrassed myself? Liam's smile widened. Yes, exactly. In fact, I found it refreshing. I don't know, maybe I've spent so much time surrounded by people who only want something from me, that I forgot what it's like to just have a normal conversation. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She hadn't expected this conversation to take such a turn. She had been so focused on the awkwardness of the previous day that she hadn't even considered that Liam might feel the same way about her. I guess I'm a little surprised, she admitted. But I'm glad you reached out. There was a brief silence as the waiter came over to take their orders. After he left, Liam spoke again, his voice softer. I know this might sound crazy, but I'd like to get to know you better. Not just as a business associate or anything. Just you. If you're up for it. Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She had never expected to be sitting here, having this conversation with a man like him. But the sincerity in his eyes told her that this wasn't just about some wealthy guy trying to make up for an awkward encounter. He seemed genuinely interested in her as a person. I think I'd like that, she said, her voice quieter than before. I mean, I don't know where this is going, but maybe we could just take things one step at a time. Liam's eyes brightened. One step at a time sounds perfect. As the conversation continued, Emma realized that she was actually enjoying herself. Liam wasn't just the tech millionaire she had first assumed him to be. He was thoughtful, genuine, and surprisingly down-to-earth. They talked about their favorite books, music, and their lives outside of work. She even found herself laughing at his jokes, which made the whole situation feel less like a business deal and more like a real connection. When the coffee cups were empty, and the conversation had flowed easily for a while, Liam stood up, a bit hesitant. I'd love to do this again. Maybe dinner sometime. No pressure, of course. Just a chance to get to know each other better. Emma hesitated for a moment, then smiled. I think I'd like that too. They walked out of the cafe together, and as they stood on the sidewalk, Emma realized that, despite the rocky start, maybe this was the beginning of something different. Something worth exploring. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Liam than just his money and his status. Maybe this time, things wouldn't be so complicated after all. The following week, Emma couldn't help but think about Liam. Their coffee date had been different than any other encounter she had ever experienced. It wasn't the usual small talk or forced pleasantries that usually filled her conversations with strangers. With Liam, it was different. It felt natural, like they had known each other for far longer than just an hour. He had texted her later that evening, asking if she wanted to meet again. And of course, she said yes. This time, they had dinner at a small Italian restaurant Liam had suggested, far away from the public eye. It wasn't as grand as the last restaurant they had been to, but Emma liked it. It felt intimate and personal. As they sat at a cozy corner table, the dim lights casting a soft glow on their faces, they fell into conversation like it was the easiest thing in the world. "I used to be a terrible cook," Liam admitted, stirring his pasta. "I just couldn't do it. But I started learning when I had to make dinner for myself after work. Now, I actually enjoy it." Emma laughed softly. "Really? I can't picture you in the kitchen." He grinned. "Yeah, I was pretty hopeless at first. But I got better. What about you? Can you cook?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "I can, but I prefer not to. I've got a microwave and a few takeout menus. That's about the extent of my culinary skills." "Fair enough," Liam said with a smile. "Maybe I'll cook for you sometime. Show you how it's done." Emma felt a flutter in her chest at the idea. He was already making plans, and for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of getting close to someone. There was something easy about being with him, something that made her forget about her struggles and just enjoy the moment. As the evening wore on, their conversation shifted from light-hearted banter to deeper topics. They spoke about their families, their dreams, and the paths that had led them to where they were now. Emma told him about her dreams of owning her own art studio one day, and Liam opened up about his own passion for technology and innovation. "I've always wanted to do something that mattered," he said, looking thoughtful. "Something that could make a real difference in the world. That's why I started my company. I didn't want to just build another tech empire. I wanted to create something that could help people." Emma nodded, impressed. "That's admirable. Not many people would think about it that way." Liam shrugged. "It's easy to get lost in the numbers and the success, but at the end of the day, what matters is how you use what you have to make a positive impact." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spreading through her chest. There was something in Liam's words, something about the way he looked at the world, that made her admire him even more. She had always believed that kindness and integrity mattered more than anything else, and here was a man who seemed to share that belief. Later, after dinner, they walked out into the cool night air. The streets were quieter now, the city lights casting long shadows on the sidewalks. Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She hadn't realized how much she needed this connection, this feeling of being seen and heard, until now. "So what's next?" she asked, her voice quiet. Liam looked at her, his gaze soft. "What do you mean?" "Well," Emma said, her voice wavering slightly. "I mean, what happens after this? After us getting to know each other? Where does it go?" Liam stopped walking for a moment, looking down at the ground as if he was contemplating her question. Then, he turned to face her. "I'm not sure where it goes, but I know I want to see where it leads. I want to keep getting to know you." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. The sincerity in his voice made her feel like he wasn't just saying it to be polite. He really meant it. "I'd like that too," she said softly, her smile growing. And in that moment, something shifted between them. It wasn't just a casual connection anymore. It was real. And for the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something that could change her life in ways she never expected. The following days seemed to pass in a blur for Emma. She was working extra shifts at the diner, trying to save up enough money for rent, but her mind kept drifting back to Liam. Their dinner had been nothing short of magical. It wasn't just the food, or the conversation, or even the way they laughed together. It was something deeper, something that Emma had been searching for without realizing it. A connection. A real one. And for the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, something good could come from this. But as much as she wanted to savor the moments they shared, there was always a nagging thought in the back of her mind. The reality of her life, the bills, the rent, the constant struggle to make ends meet, kept pushing to the forefront. She didn't have the luxury of being carefree, and she definitely didn't have the luxury of getting lost in a fairy tale. One evening, as she was finishing up her shift at the diner, she received a text from Liam. "Hey Emma, Would you like to join me for an art gallery opening this weekend? It's a small event, but I think you might enjoy it. She stared at the message for a moment. An art gallery? It sounded like something out of a dream. She had always loved art, but could never afford to visit galleries or attend events like this. But then, a small voice in her head whispered, "Why not?" She quickly typed back, "I would love that. Thank you for inviting me." Liam's reply came almost immediately. "Great. I'll pick you up at 7 on Saturday. Can't wait to see you there." Saturday arrived, and Emma couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nerves. She carefully picked out a simple but elegant dress, something that she felt good in but didn't look out of place. She applied her makeup carefully, wanting to look her best but not overdo it. When Liam arrived at her apartment to pick her up, she was surprised by how natural it felt to be around him. The nervousness that had once been there seemed to fade, replaced by an easy comfort. The drive to the gallery was filled with easy conversation. Liam asked about her day, and she found herself opening up more than she expected. She told him about her dreams of having an art studio one day and how, despite all the obstacles, she still held on to that hope. He listened attentively, and Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of encouragement from his words. When they arrived at the gallery, Liam took her hand as they walked inside. The space was beautiful, with modern art adorning the walls, soft lighting that gave the place an intimate feel, and a buzz of quiet conversation as people mingled. Emma felt a little out of place at first, but Liam was right there beside her, making her feel welcome and comfortable. They walked through the exhibit, discussing the pieces and sharing their thoughts on the art. Emma was fascinated by the way Liam could see beyond just the surface, talking about the emotions behind the paintings and how they made him feel. She found herself hanging on every word, impressed by his insight. As they reached the final piece of the exhibit, Liam turned to her. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," he said, his tone serious but gentle. Emma looked up at him, surprised. "What is it?" Liam paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "You said you wanted to open your own art studio one day. I was wondering, have you looked into any opportunities to make that happen?" Emma blinked, not expecting the question. She had always dreamed of owning a studio, but the reality of it seemed so far out of reach. I've thought about it, but I don't know where to start. I don't have the money or the connections to make it happen." Liam smiled softly. "What if I could help you with that? I mean, I know this might sound crazy, but I have the resources to help make that dream a reality. I could help you find a space, get started, whatever you need." Emma's heart raced as she tried to process his words. "You would do that?" she asked, her voice a little shakier than she intended. "Of course," Liam said, his voice warm and sincere. "I believe in what you're doing. I want to help you make it happen." Emma was speechless for a moment, overwhelmed by the offer. It felt too good to be true. She had always dreamed of having a space where she could create and inspire others. But the idea of having someone like Liam offer to help, especially someone so successful, was beyond anything she could have imagined. "Thank you," she said, her voice full of emotion. "You don't know how much this means to me." Liam reached out, gently taking her hand. "You don't have to thank me. I want to see you succeed. I'm just happy I can help." As the evening went on, Emma found herself feeling a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in a long time. With Liam's support, maybe she could finally make her dreams come true. Maybe this wasn't just a fairy tale after all. Maybe it was the start of something real. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could finally breathe, knowing that someone believed in her. As the weeks went by, Emma felt like her life was starting to shift in ways she hadn't expected. Liam kept his promise. He had helped her find a small but perfect space for her art studio, and although it wasn't much yet, she could already see the potential. It wasn't just a space to create art. It was a symbol of her dreams starting to come true. She worked tirelessly, painting and setting up the studio, feeling a sense of accomplishment she hadn't experienced in years. But there was also something else, something deeper, developing between her and Liam. Every time they saw each other, they grew closer. Liam would show up at the studio, bringing her coffee, offering advice, or simply watching her paint. He never pushed her into anything. He just supported her, quietly, in ways she never imagined a person could. She began to realize that he was more than just a millionaire businessman. He was someone who genuinely cared about her passions, and about her dreams. He wasn't just helping her because he had the means to. He was doing it because he believed in her. One evening, as they were sitting together in the studio, Liam turned to her, his gaze soft but serious. "Emma, I've been thinking about something," he began, his voice a little hesitant. Emma looked up from her painting, noticing the serious tone in his voice. "What's on your mind?" Liam took a deep breath, as if weighing his words carefully. "I want you to know that I'm here for you. Not just for your art, but for you. I care about you, Emma. And I think I'm starting to feel something more than just friendship." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had known that her feelings for Liam were growing, but hearing him say it out loud made everything seem more real. She had been afraid to admit it, even to herself, but now that he had spoken, she couldn't deny it any longer. "Liam, I care about you too," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Liam smiled, a soft, sincere smile that made Emma's heart flutter. He reached out, taking her hand gently in his. "I don't want to rush anything. I just want to be honest with you. I know we started off on a strange note, but this feels right. And I want to see where this could go, if you're open to it." Emma's mind raced. She had never expected this. Her life had been so focused on surviving, on getting by day, that she hadn't realized how much she had longed for someone who would see her for who she truly was, not just what she could offer. And here Liam was, offering exactly that. It wasn't just about the art, or the studio, or even the money. It was about a real connection, a bond that had been growing quietly in the background of everything they had shared so far. She squeezed his hand, a smile slowly forming on her lips. "I'm open to it," she said, her voice steady but filled with warmth. "I've never felt this way before. It's all so new to me, but I want to see where this goes to." Liam leaned forward, his eyes bright with affection. "I'm glad to hear that," he said softly, "because I've been thinking about something else too." Emma looked at him, curious. "What's that?" Liam hesitated for a moment, then spoke with a mix of determination and sincerity. "I want us to be a team, not just in the art world, but in life. I want to support you, Emma. I want to be there for you, no matter what. And I want you to know that you're not alone anymore." The words hit Emma like a wave of emotion. She had spent so many years feeling alone, struggling to keep it all together on her own. But now, with Liam's words, everything felt different. She wasn't alone anymore. For the first time, she felt like she had someone who truly cared for her, someone who was willing to stand by her side. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at him. "You have no idea how much that means to me," she whispered. "I've always felt like I was doing everything alone. But with you, I feel like I can breathe." Liam gently wiped away a tear that had escaped her eye, his touch tender and reassuring. "You don't have to do anything alone, Emma. Not anymore." And in that moment, Emma realized that everything had changed. The art studio, the coffee dates, the conversations about their lives, everything had led her here, to this moment, with this man who was offering her more than she ever thought possible. A real partnership, a real connection, a chance at something beautiful. As they sat there, hand in hand, Emma finally allowed herself to believe in the possibility of love, real, honest love, and for the first time in a long time, she felt truly at peace. The weeks that followed were filled with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Emma continued to work hard at the studio, pouring her heart into every painting. But now there was something different in the air. Liam's presence in her life was no longer just a kind gesture. It was becoming a part of her reality. They spent more time together, not just discussing art, but also their hopes, their fears, and their dreams for the future. Every time they talked, she felt herself opening up more, allowing herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could have everything she had ever wanted. But as much as Emma wanted to believe in their connection, there was still a part of her that couldn't shake the doubts. She had grown up thinking that life didn't just give you what you wanted. You had to fight for it, earn it, and even then, there were no guarantees. She wasn't sure if Liam truly understood the struggle she had faced. He had the world at his feet, while she had spent her life fighting just to stay afloat. One evening, as they sat together in her studio, Liam spoke up, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "Emma, there's something I need to talk to you about." She looked up, concern creeping into her chest. "What is it?" Liam hesitated, his eyes scanning the space as if searching for the right words. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything. And I want to be honest with you about something." Emma's heart skipped a beat. "You're scaring me. What's going on?" Liam took a deep breath. I know this whole thing started in a bit of a chaotic way, an accidental meeting, a mistake. But I want you to know that this isn't just about me helping you with your studio or your dreams. I want you in my life, Emma. For real. Not just as someone I'm helping, but as someone I'm sharing my life with. Emma sat in stunned silence. She had never imagined Liam would say something like that. She had always been waiting for the moment when he would realize he could do better, that he could find someone more fitting of his life. Someone with less baggage, less struggle. But here he was, telling her he wanted her. Asterisk all asterisk of her. I don't know what to say, Emma whispered, her voice trembling. I've spent so long protecting myself from people who might hurt me, and I don't know if I can let go of all the walls I've built around myself. Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his touch gentle but firm. You don't have to let go of everything. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not asking for you to change, Emma. I'm asking you to trust me. To trust that this, what we have, is real. Emma's breath caught in her throat. It felt like the weight of her past had been holding her back from truly embracing the possibility of happiness. She had always believed that love came with strings attached, that it was just another thing she had to fight for. But Liam wasn't asking for anything in return. He wasn't offering her a deal or an exchange. He was offering her himself. I'm scared, Liam, Emma confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Scared that I'll mess everything up, that I'm not enough. Liam's expression softened, and he squeezed her hand. You're more than enough, Emma. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes, but this time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief. She had been carrying so much for so long, not realizing how heavy it all was. And now, with Liam's words, she felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a future, one where she wasn't alone, where she wasn't fighting to keep everything together. She felt like she could finally breathe, and she realized that maybe, just maybe, she had found someone who would stand by her, through the good times and the bad. I'm ready, she said, her voice steady now. I'm ready to let you in. To trust you. Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with joy. Thank you, Emma. That means everything to me. As they sat there, holding hands, the silence between them was comfortable, full of understanding and unspoken promises. Emma knew there would be challenges ahead, that life would never be perfect. But for the first time, she felt like she wasn't facing them alone. And with Liam by her side, she felt like she could take on anything. The days after their conversation felt like a new chapter for Emma. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt so at peace. Liam's words had broken down the walls she'd spent years building around her heart, and now, she was allowing herself to believe in a future with him. She wasn't afraid anymore. As the weeks went by, their relationship deepened. They were a team, supporting each other in ways neither had expected. Liam continued to help Emma with her art studio, but it was more than just business now. It was about building something together, creating a life they both wanted. One evening, as they were sitting at her studio, working on a new painting, Liam looked at her with a quiet intensity that made her pause. I've been thinking a lot about the future, he said, his voice calm but filled with meaning. Emma put down her brush and turned to face him, a sense of anticipation building in her chest. What do you mean? She asked, her voice steady but curious. Liam took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts. I think we've both come a long way, and I don't want to wait anymore. I want to take the next step with you. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. The next step, she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. Yes, I want to be with you. Not just as a partner in business, but in everything. I want to build a life with you, Emma. I want to wake up every day knowing that we're in this together. I'm ready for that, if you are. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Emma's mind raced, her heart pounding in her chest. She hadn't expected this, but deep down, she realized that she had been waiting for him to say it. To tell her that he was ready to commit to more than just the fleeting moments they had shared. This was real. This was more than she could have ever imagined. I'm ready too, Emma said, her voice full of emotion. I've never felt this way before. I've never been able to let go of my fears and just let someone in. But with you, I feel like I can. And I want to be with you, Liam. I want to build that life too. Liam smiled, a smile that made Emma's heart swell. He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. "I promise, Emma, I'll be there for you. Through everything. No matter what comes our way, we'll face it together." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at him, the love and trust between them stronger than anything she had ever known. She didn't have to be afraid anymore. She didn't have to carry the weight of the world on her own. With Liam by her side, she knew they could overcome anything. And just like that, in the quiet of the studio, amidst the canvas and the paint, Emma knew that her life was about to change in the most beautiful way. They weren't just building a future, they were building a life, together. As they embraced, Emma allowed herself to fully surrender to the moment. For the first time in years, she felt complete. She wasn't just a waitress struggling to make ends meet anymore. She was an artist, a woman with dreams, and now, she was also a woman with love, support, and the promise of a bright future ahead. She was finally ready to live her life, fully and completely, with Liam by her side. As the months passed, Emma and Liam's life together started to feel like something out of a dream. The art studio was thriving, more successful than Emma had ever imagined. She was creating pieces that were selling in galleries, and with Liam's help, she had even been able to secure a small exhibition of her own. But it wasn't just the success of her art that made her feel complete. It was the life they were building together. Liam had kept his promise. He was there for her, not just in business, but in every part of her life. They spent their weekends traveling to new places, exploring art galleries, or simply enjoying quiet dinners together. They were partners in every sense of the word, and Emma couldn't believe how lucky she was to have found someone who believed in her so deeply. One evening, as they sat in their favorite cafe, a place they often visited after a long week, Liam turned to her with a soft smile. "You know, Emma," he said, his voice gentle, "I've been thinking about something." Emma looked up, curiosity in her eyes. "What's that?" Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I know we've been through a lot to get here, but I can't imagine my life without you. I don't want to wait any longer. Emma, will you marry me?" The question hung in the air for a moment, and Emma's heart skipped a beat. Her mind went blank, her chest tightening with emotion. She had known, deep down, that this moment was coming. But hearing him say it, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, made her heart swell with joy. She had never imagined this kind of love, this kind of support, and here she was, ready to embrace it fully. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, Liam, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up with a smile that could light up a room. He stood up, pulling her into his arms, and they embraced, the world around them fading into the background. In that moment, nothing else mattered. They had built a life together, one full of love, trust, and hope for the future. As they stood there, holding each other, Emma realized that this was everything she had ever dreamed of. A life where she wasn't alone, where she could share her hopes and dreams with someone who truly cared. And with Liam by her side, she knew there was nothing they couldn't accomplish together. The days that followed were filled with the excitement of planning their wedding. But even more than that, it was the anticipation of the life they would continue to build. A life where they would support each other, where they would face the challenges of the world side by side, and where their love would continue to grow stronger every day. Emma had found everything she had ever wanted, not just in her art, but in her partner, in Liam. And as they looked ahead to their future, they knew that no matter what happened, they would face it together. Because this was only the beginning of their beautiful story, one they would write together for the rest of their lives.